YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. I wanted to come on here and talk about why the 49ers might have hired Gus Bradley and what this means for the Niners moving forward into the future. So obviously, they officially hired Gus Bradley today as a defensive assistant. His role has yet to be disclosed, so we don't know exactly what his role will be within the 49ers defensive coaching staff. However, he will have a role to some degree. I personally think it's going to be like what Brandon Staley did last year, where he kind of, overseen the defense from afar, but then also served as an assistant head coach to Kyle Shanahan. So I think this is I think Gus Bradley's coming in and practically replacing Brandon Staley and what Staley's role was last season. That's just in my opinion. I think he's going to serve in the similar role to what Staley did last year. However, there is one factor that could be overlooked as to why the Niners may have hired Gus Bradley. And it could be that he is a contingency plan for if and when Robert Saleh leaves the 49ers for another head coaching opportunity. So obviously, I don't know what could possibly happen following the 2025 season, but if there's one thing I do know, it's that Robert Saleh will once again be in the, head coach candidacy for some teams out there that will need head coaches after next year. He is going to be a very highly touted head coaching candidate for the 2026 season following this upcoming season. And obviously, the chances are very high that teams will be in on him and want to interview him. And it's probably very likely that he finds a new head coaching job following the 2025 season. So obviously, if he leaves, the 49ers will then need to fill a defensive coordinator vacancy once again. So they could find themselves in the exact same spot as they were in after the season ended next year if Saleh takes a head coaching job, which is probably very likely, especially if he puts this 49ers defense back on the map to what it once was and has success in doing so. So with that being said, this is where Gus Bradley can kind of aid them. If Saleh leaves, Gus Bradley could fill in for Robert Saleh and be his successor as defensive coordinator after next year. They could promote Gus Bradley to the position. He was a coach the 49ers had interest in when Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch first took over in 2017. A lot of people do not know that. Gus Bradley is one of the pioneers of the 4-3 defense that the 49ers run. He did it in Seattle. It's, the Seattle defense during the Legion of Boom era is exactly what the 49ers defense is currently. And Gus Bradley was one of the pioneers of that defense and one of the first guys in the NFL that kind of schemed that defense up. And that's what the 49ers currently run on the defensive side of things. They are a 4-3 defense. They play a lot of cover one on the third downs. They like to have, good cornerbacks to run, man-to-man coverage. And that is the 4-3 defense. That's what Gus Bradley coached in Seattle. It's what he's coached his entire life. It's what he coached with the Indianapolis Colts, with the Jaguars, with the Raiders. This is a guy that was one of the first coaches to kind of be a 4-3 type of play caller. Obviously, Pete Carroll had a lot to do with that as well, but Gus Bradley was Pete Carroll's defensive coordinator, and Gus Bradley was the play caller of the defense. So again, Gus Bradley can run the same exact scheme as Robert Saleh. And again, I said this in my most recent video, but Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley go way back. They were with each other with Seattle. They were with each other in Jacksonville. This is a relationship that is, that goes way back. These guys know each other very well. They clearly like each other. They have respect for each other. And again, Shanahan wants the 4-3 scheme for this defense. He doesn't really want to change it. And again, Bradley runs the same scheme as Robert Saleh. So Gus Bradley would be a perfect candidate for Robert Saleh's successor if and when he leaves in 2025. Now, the issue with Gus Bradley may be that he could follow Robert Saleh wherever Robert Saleh may get hired as a head coach after next season. That's something that could be inevitable, really. I mean, I think these guys have a very good relationship, clearly. Saleh followed Gus Bradley to Jacksonville when Gus Bradley left Seattle. Gus Bradley took Saleh from Seattle to Jacksonville with him, and it could be kind of like a full circle moment for them. Gus Bradley could end up following Robert Saleh wherever he may end up being a head coach after next season. So that's definitely something to know. Like, it's not a lock that the 49ers might – it's not a lock that this will be the 49ers defensive coordinator if Robert Saleh leaves. However, he's definitely going to be a candidate that the 49ers probably take a hard look at if Saleh leaves. And it makes sense because, again, they run the same scheme. Gus Bradley was one of the first guys, again, in the NFL to kind of scheme up that 4-3 defense that the 49ers run. So, again, I mean, either way, the 49ers, it was an excellent hire to get Gus Bradley. I mean, I said this in my most recent video, but Gus Bradley was a guy that the 49ers were linked to and had rumors and were rumored to kind of be interested in before they eventually hired Robert Saleh, who was the guy that they wanted to hire all along. But the 49ers never interviewed Gus Bradley, which was kind of surprising to me. They never interviewed him. They didn't ever kind of publicly come out and say that they had interest in Gus Bradley. I'm sure deep down they probably thought about the, situation in hiring Gus Bradley, but they never really showed any interest in him, which kind of surprised me because I said, when I made videos on the 49ers defensive coordinator options, that Gus Bradley is a sleeper option for the 49ers, and they could definitely bring him in for an interview and potentially even hire him if Saleh ended up getting a head coaching job. But obviously that didn't happen. But again, I think it's an excellent hire because, I mean, I'm sitting here 3-4 weeks ago thinking that Gus Bradley could potentially be the next Niners defensive coordinator, and the Niners get Saleh, who I wanted all along, who 99% of Niner fans wanted all along, and now somehow the 49ers are still able to hire Gus Bradley to a defensive coaching role. So just crazy to me that they actually did hire him, but it doesn't surprise me because there was not any team that really showed any interest in hiring Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator, and it seemed to me like Gus Bradley probably did not want to not coach in the NFL in 2025, but obviously that will not be the case. He will be coaching on the 49ers defensive staff to some degree, and again, his acting as a contingency could be a reason why the 49ers elected to hire him. Now, all of this could be a long shot because I do think Gus Bradley was Robert Saleh's hire. I don't know if Shanahan really had a lot to do with this hiring. I mean, obviously the Niners hiring Robert Saleh, I mean, Saleh's going to have say in some of the draft picks that they have. He's going to be the guy that's going to hire his entire defensive coaching staff. The 49ers are giving Robert Saleh the red carpet as their defensive coordinator. I mean, he has a lot of pull and a lot of different things with this coaching staff, with the team on the defense. So again, to me, this was likely a, Robert Saleh hire, but I definitely think Kyle Shanahan was probably on board with it. And again, hence to why that the Niners hired him to a defensive assistant on the coaching staff. So, again, just something to note. I mean, this could be one of the main reasons the 49ers did want to hire him. I would not be shocked if Gus Bradley He didn't do well with the Indianapolis Colts. He comes to the Niners, takes a step back, serves as a defensive assistant, gains confidence back, works under one of the best defensive coordinators, if not the best defensive coordinator in all of football, and Robert Saleh. And obviously, again, if Saleh does get a head coaching opportunity following the 2025 season, Gus Bradley is 100% a guy that the 49ers would likely take a look at and maybe even potentially hire as Saleh's successor. So let me know what you guys think, though, of this in the comments down below. I think this is definitely a situation to monitor for the next year, just to kind of see what happens. I hope to God that we can keep Saleh for more than 1 year, but he's going to be a very hot coaching candidate next year, and I'm not going to be surprised if the 49ers only get him for this year, and then obviously look to hire elsewhere following the 2025 season for their defensive coordinator position. So let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Do you guys think if Saleh leaves, do you guys think the Niners would hire Gus Bradley as their defensive coordinator? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.